February meeting is called to order. If you would, could you join me in invocation, moment of silent prayer? Thank you. Would you join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to respect our country? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Winstead, would you mind calling the roll to establish a quorum for the night?
Certainly. Kathy Murphy. Here. Craig Kelly.
Here.
Deanna Baumann. Here. Amy Tosny. Here. Kermit Kendrick.
Here.
And Amy Madonna. Here.
We have established a quorum for state law for Board of Education meeting. We'll go through this. Okay, you have before you the agenda for today's board meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda, board? No, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. It passes for tonight. Board, we're a little bit out of order because we have everybody's a guest, but we have some gentlemen that have to leave, so I can late. Mr. Jason Gaston. Oh, okay, sorry.
To defer and invite Dr. Murphy up to introduce our legislators.
Well, good evening. Wow, what a terrific crowd we have this evening, so thank you for joining us. We have chosen to annually bring our legislators in to join us for our board meeting in February before they go into legislative session. And so just as a general statement, I want to thank all of the legislators who represent our community, and a number of them are with us this evening. And I'm so glad they came because they really need to get to another meeting. So we wanted to acknowledge them and then give them the privilege to obviously exit as they have another meeting. I'm going to acknowledge first Senator Jabbo Wagner. Senator Wagner, thank you for joining us. He represents Bluff Park, if you'd stay with us here. Bluff Park, Deer Valley, Ross Bridge, Green Valley, Gwynn, River Chase, Rocky Ridge, Shades Mountain, Barry Simmons, and Spain Park. He represents different areas of our city. So thank you so much for all the ways that you advocate and support us. Thank you. Senator Roger Smitherman represents us also. Thank you for joining us. He represents Deer Valley and part of Ross Bridge area, so thank you. We appreciate your advocacy for us. Senator Dan Roberts, thank you. Represents Greystone. Mr. Ward represents South Shades Crest, Trace Crossings, Brock's Gap, Bumpus, and other parts of Hoover, so thank you for representing us. We also have Mr. Arnold Mooney. Mr. Mooney, thank you, and Scott Kelly is with him. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Mooney represents River Chase and Berry, so thank you. We also have Mr. David Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler represents Green Valley, Gwynn, Rocky Ridge, and Simmons. So thank you, Mr. Wheeler. We appreciate you also. Have I missed any of our, I am so sorry. And where am I?
Representative Dickie Drake.
Dickie Drake. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I missed you. And because I missed you, do you mind telling me which of our areas that you represent? I'm so sorry I missed putting you on my sheet.
Well, basically, my district is down at 280 and south of 119, so I've got raced on Hollow Lakes, Mount Laurel, Shovel Creek, all the way to Vincent, Shelby County. Of course, that's not all your schools.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. I've watched all of these gentlemen. Some of them are newbies, but just really go and represent us in fine fashion in Montgomery. We thank you for that. Thank you so much, Mr. Drake.
Dr. Logan, I would like to say something. This is an outstanding show of support for my delegation. Because we're in two counties and we're generally a north to south district, it is amazing that we have the audience we have with our delegation. I can tell you throughout the sessions that I've been involved in, we have supported public education. When delegation you see here. And I'm not saying that because they're here. We have an open line of communication with the board and also Dr. Murphy. We appreciate what you're doing and thank you for being here tonight.
And Mr. Drake, you were on my sheet. I just happened to be blind. My apologies again. Thank you. I know that you all have other commitments. Yes, sir, please.
Dr. Murphy, thank you. On behalf of the Jefferson and Shelby delegation, I want to thank you for inviting us and acknowledging us. If I have a smile on my face, about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I've got to share this, okay? My granddaughter gave birth to a son, which makes me a great grandfather, and he lived in Lost Bridge, which is Hoover. So in about 15 years, you'll see a tailback named Scott, so just remember that. He'll be in the Hoover school system. Doing what we do, we have the opportunity to visit schools and school systems and superintendents and boards all over this state. We do it every year. We go to rural systems, we go to urban systems. Without a doubt, Hoover has a great, great school system because they have great, great leadership. Because we see them from all over the state. The people in Hoover need to acknowledge that. You need to know that because we know it because we visit them all over the state. So you have a great board. The kids in your school system are getting a great education. They will be prepared for life because of the leadership at the Hoover Board of Education level. So on behalf of the legislative delegation, I want to thank y'all for what you do, because Hoover is well represented. The kids here are getting a great education because those of us that are in the Senate and the House, we can compare it all over the state, and y'all are well prepared. Thank you so much.
I'm going to ask Dr. Leslie Sheik to stand or wave, or did they get back in the building? Oh, here you are. Come in, please, and bring your group with you. We have Dr. Sheik, who's the Associate Dean of the College for Teacher Effectiveness and Assessment at Judson College. She's also the head of the Department of Education and the chair of the Professional Studies. And she's brought today to visit with us some students who are teacher candidates. And this is about their third visit with us. We have an opportunity to talk to these young ladies and share about education, and we're just always so excited when others who are in teacher preparation programs come and visit with us, and that we have an opportunity to have conversation with them. I told them earlier today that there are more years in the rear view mirror for me than there are years in the front of the window for me, and so I really see my role as continuing to support these young people as they prepare to come into our school districts and teach and support and facilitate learning. So we're so glad to have you. And your daughter, what's your name, honey? And Madeline is with us. And so thank y'all. We wish you absolutely the best. And I appreciate Mr. Kelly and Ms. Bauman also spent a few minutes with these young people today to talk about the role of board in the process of education. So thank you. We are glad you're here, and come and visit with us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. We will continue. Yes. Thank you to our legislators. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We always begin Board of Education meetings with proclamations, resolutions, recognitions, and of course, February is Black History Month across North America, so we want to begin with that. Of course, here in Hoover, we value and celebrate diversity throughout the year, and those contributions made by African Americans to our district and our society. Diversity councils, minority achievement councils, and other student-based clubs such as Awaken and Hoover High School demonstrate the interest in work taking place among our faculty, staff, and students. However, today and tonight we recognize Black History Month, and I will read a proclamation that we will issue here in just a moment. Whereas in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month and is now celebrated across North America. And whereas Black History Month affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about Black heritage and to honor the many leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation, and whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all of our citizens regarding the issues of civil rights and human rights, whereas Black History Month calls our nation's attention to the continued need to build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. Now therefore be it resolved that the Hoover Board of Education acknowledges and celebrates our district's vast range of diversity and acknowledges and celebrates the many contributions made by African Americans to our culture, to our society, and to our world. Now to receive this proclamation, we have invited student leaders from both Hoover High School and Spain Park High School to join me if they would up front. First of all, Senior Aaron Williams and Junior Ciara Ingram from Hoover High School, and then Seniors Rachel Sampson and Zachary Henley from Spain Park High School. And as I give them a round of applause. This is an impressive group right here of leaders, again, at our two high schools, again, two of the largest high schools in the state. Aaron Williams, raise your hand, serves as president of Awaken, a club for females that addresses diversity and societal issues. Aaron also serves on the Diversity Council. The council meets weekly throughout the school year and has a multicultural fair planned for all of Hoover High School in the courtyard coming up in March, and that date is to be determined. Junior Ciara Ingram, joining her, serves as the incoming president of Awaken and also serves on the Diversity Council and various other groups, including the Foundation's student board. So I've asked them to come up quickly and share a little bit about their involvement with these clubs at Hoover High School.
Good evening, everyone. I am honored to attend Hoover High School, where diversity plays a huge factor in our learning program. I am on the Diversity Council, which is made of about 25 to 30 students. We meet every Tuesday, and our goal is to just let every student and teacher know that it is okay to embrace your culture. Just because you may be different from someone else doesn't make you an outcast, but that makes you unique. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Williams. I'm also on the Diversity Council with Sierra. Diversity Council is new this year, so we're really excited. We're excited to explore different cultures and make them known that we have over 52 different languages and cultures represented over all of Hoover City schools. And that's so amazing. And we just want to be able to express that, and we want people to feel comfortable in their own school. And I'm also the founder and president of Club Awaken, which is a club to empower young African American women to love themselves and enjoy just being in a school where we can be unique. So yes, I'm passing that down to Sierra next year. So I'm really excited, and thank you guys.
And our friends on the eastern side of Hoover are equally impressive, Rachel Sampson and Zachary Henley. Rachel serves as president of Spain Park High School's GMAC, that is the Girls Minority Achievement Council. She was a 2018 HER Lead Fellow and attended a leadership summit in New York City this past summer. She's also been elected senator for the Birmingham Youth Leadership Development Program. So it's like a junior version of Leadership Hoover, Leadership Birmingham, and as I understand through talking with you, you met with Auburn's chancellor earlier this week, chancellor of Auburn University. So some big things going on in terms of connectivity there. Zachary, right here, serves as the president of Spain Park High School's Gay Straight Alliance. He's involved in AP language, digital photography, and more. He plans to pursue film and creative media beyond high school. Thank you both, and if you'll come up and share a few things.
Good
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Sampson, and I am the president of the Girls Minority Achievement Council at Spring Park. As president, I facilitate conversations about leadership and future career paths. With these conversations and these meetings, we actually train our girls to be prepared for the life outside of Hoover City Schools and for what's next. So whether that's, a career in STEM or a career in healthcare. So, thank you.
Hello, beautiful people. I am Zachary Hanley, and I am the president of GSA at Spain Park High School, where we try to teach people that no matter straight or gay, we can all come and educate ourselves and be a better person. And I personally have started a smaller group inside of GSA for just queer and trans people of color because there's not a lot of conversation happening about our group, and I like to spread that out. And that's why I use digital photography and film to get that awareness out. So, thank you.
Thank you, students. February is also Career and Technical Education Month, and we also have a resolution specific to that accolade. Whereas the Alabama State Department of Education and national educational organizations have proclaimed February as Career and Technical Education Month, and whereas profound economic and technical changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, thereby placing new and additional responsibilities on our education system. And whereas career and technical education programs in Hoover City Schools have become a rigorous, progressive, vital part of the school system committed to providing students with rewarding opportunities to learn valuable career and life skills. And whereas career and technical education will take on new life in our district through the birth of the River Chase Career Connection Center, known as RC3. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Hoover Board of Education joins the Alabama State Department of Education and other national organizations in proclaiming the month of February as Career and Technical Education Month. So, everyone related to CTE, please join me up front. And I believe Dr. Deborah Smith is going to be that person. Let's give her a hand, everybody. And you see the intimidating uniforms here to my left. This Air Force JROTC, very nicely pressed uniforms. Colonel Moulton is with us again to tell us about this young lady on the screen, Caitlin Frierson, who is breaking records left and right.
Good evening, everybody. One of the questions I'm often asked is whether I'm developing students who are going to be as good as I am or was. And the answer is always an unequivocal no. I have no interest in developing students who are as good as I am or was. My passion is developing students who are going to be better than I was. Better in every way. Physically, intellectually, spiritually. We don't need a 1.0 version of me. We need 2.0, 3.0, 5.0 versions. And with that in mind, I'm thrilled that you're allowing me tonight to recognize our first Corps Commander, Caitlin Frierson. I would call this the new and improved version. Caitlin? Now, among Caitlin's many admirable qualities, one of them is humility, and that's why I'm here. I'm going to brag on her a little bit. At the end of our first semester, as you may have read in the district newsletter, she achieved every ribbon and award possible in the junior ROTC program. And I want to just take a moment to talk about what that means. First of all, she excelled at an individual level. She earned the dress and appearance ribbon, the attendance ribbon. She earned the academic ribbon. She achieved a 4.0. I told her that was an acceptable GPA for the semester, 4.0. She also earned, if you'll notice on her ribbon rack, a bronze star on the physical fitness ribbon. This means she earned a bronze star on the President's Physical Fitness Test, one of only 8 out of 80 students to do that. At a team level, she was part of our first ever Color Guard program, and she led 2 of our first major community service initiatives, the Red, White, and Blue Ruck March Initiative and the Wreaths Across America Initiative in December. And finally, she also commanded the flight that earned the first ever Outstanding Flight Award for our program. So as you can see, 3 of the areas we measure, individual excellence, teamwork, and leadership, this young lady has achieved all A's. She has been a sterling example of what we want to build and develop and what we want our future to look like. I could not be more proud of her. And this semester, she's already taken on the reins of command. She is doing things like, and I know many of you appreciate this, she is already running her own staff meetings. And she's doing a pretty good job of it. She's already organizing our core. She's spearheading some of our initiatives, such as the development of our drill team. And as we flex our muscles, literally, the first ever Ranger fitness team, which will go to the national championships in May. And as if that wasn't enough, we've also given her responsibility with an entire semester under her belt to begin mentoring her successor. We believe that part of her job is not just to do a good job here, but to prepare the next commander. So she is already mentoring and guiding. As you can see, our understudy is here with us tonight, watching and learning. And that's an awful lot of responsibility to place on a high school student. My only regret is she's a senior. And in spite of my best efforts to convince Mrs. Bond, she's not removing any of the credits so Caitlin still can graduate in May. But she's already leaving a legacy. She's setting the right tone and the right foundation which will establish our program. I could not be more proud of her, and I cannot thank you enough for allowing us to showcase her and show you just what the Hoover High School Air Force Junior ROTC program is already producing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to switch gears to athletics. Zachary El-Falah, Spain Park High School. Is he joining us tonight? Here. He's here. Okay, great. 7A state dive champion. Are there any athletic officials from Spain Park High School athletics with us tonight? They're not. Okay. Mr. Jim Grosso is here. And then Miss Matthias is here. Will you please stand because you're the coach? Correct, right? Perfect. Perfect. Sponsor.
I am giving the credit to his USS dive coach. So.
Okay. Do you mind joining us up here? So along with Zachary, and you see on the screen here, 7A state dive champion. We've got Wade Lockhart. I believe I see him over here. Ward. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Spell check. Let's all say 7A state champion, 500-yard freestyle. And Matthew Gray, I don't believe he is with us. Is Matthew with us? He is not. Just Matthias, you want to give us just a brief rundown on the accomplishments here?
Okay.
Very great.
I'll start with Ward. Ward actually is a repeat state champion in our 500-yard freestyle. A year ago, he actually set the state record. And this year, he came back with the state record in the 500-yard freestyle, and he reset his state record also with a 4:36. I know that doesn't mean anything to the non-swimmers, but that's a really good time and everything. Zach here, he's our first ever dive champion at Spain Park. He was the bridesmaid for many years. We kept, hoping he would get there, but this year he came through and he did a great job. And he holds actually our school record in the diving 1 meter. So, and they're both very hard workers. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We lost Jason.
Okay, next, Caroline Williams, Green Valley Elementary School. So, what's that? Yes, come on up. So, Caroline is third grade at Green Valley Elementary School. She was a winner of the poetry contest, and she is going to read the poem for us.
If there's fire, feel the door. If there's smoke, get on the floor. Jump out the window nice and slow. And then go, go, go. Be careful if there's smoke, get out or you might choke. Firefighters beat the heat, their big black boots protect their feet. Firefighters work hard and tough, but the job they do can get very rough. Fire, fire, they need to hurry. They will dash in a flurry. Firefighters, oh so brave, oh how they like to save. Water goes through the pump and out the firefighters jump. Firefighters like to fight in the very dark of night. Firefighters love to rescue, they might even save you too.
And just for a little context on that, as Caroline shakes hands with the superintendent and the board, the Hoover Parent Teacher Council, HPTC, puts on an essay contest and poetry contest in conjunction with the Hoover Police Department, Hoover Fire Department, and our own curriculum and instruction department each year, and that's held in January. So Caroline was not able to make that, and so we used tonight's forum to present that to her. So congratulations, Caroline. Donna Burke, Alabama Assistant Principal of the Year. She's a little mad. I'm probably gonna make her come a little bit closer. So
I got 2 sticks here.
Okay. So you can see on the photo on the big screen, she's with her principal, Dr. Maddox, Dr. Murphy, and Vic Wilson with class, and who's the other lady? Katrina Akers. And so that recognition, I believe, was back in November, taken there at Bumpus Middle School. But you think about how many assistant principals are in the state, and she is this year's Alabama Assistant Principal of the Year. So congratulations. That's right. So last year, Jennifer Hogan, Hoover High School, was the Alabama Assistant Principal of the Year. So we've got quite a record going there. Thank you for that reminder there. Miss Caroline Morris, language arts teacher at RF Bumpus Middle School, is here. And as she makes her way to the front, so last year she had her 8th grade students do a book. And I believe a lot of them have matriculated up the K-12 straight at Hoover High School. But you are here tonight, and I believe some of them are with you. And Ms. Morris is going to quickly explain the project and make a presentation to the Board of Education.
Well, come on up. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Morris, and last year I had the distinct honor to teach an 8th grade language arts class where my students were able to write a novel. And so they were able to enter into something called the novel process. And so it was an entire year-long assignment. And so by the end of their 8th grade year, they had the opportunity to become published authors. And so I have their book here. And so I just want to
congratulate them, and also give them recognition. So their names, I'm going to read all 24. I know that they're not here, but they deserve it. So it's Anna Markland. You just kind of wave if you're here. Ethan Haywood, Andrew Counts, Kenneth Wang, Amanda Nakonda, Rachel Ewan, Ginger Shelton, Anushka Guerra, Arjun Ram, Lauren Hall, Will Stallworth, Chase Frazier, Sri Nataraj, Cheyenne Asani, Sky Corey, Jenna Landry, Madison Newsom, Caroline Gerard, Riley Robertson, Ava Rector, Meenakshi Prabhakar, Arzu Sharania, and Maddie Quirk, and Hannah Ray. So, yay. Thank you very much.
Your chapter is chapter 6. Great job. No, it's fun. Great job.
All right, we've got some seats opening up, so people, if you want to fill in the back, that'd be great. Thank you, Ms. Morris, Buffers Middle School. So next up is Ms. Melinda Bonner, Director of our Child Nutrition Program. We've had some great successes with our health inspection scores, both from Jefferson and Shelby. So Ms. Bonner is here to talk to us about that.
Most of us, the first thing that we do when we go to a restaurant is we're looking for that score. And that's what I'm here to share tonight is, yes, Hoover City Schools has 16 operating kitchens, both in Shelby County and Jefferson County Health, and inspected by those health departments. Each kitchen is inspected up to 3 times a year, and they're looking for compliance with the Alabama State Board of Health rules for food establishment sanitation. The most recent inspection scores are showing the dedication of the Hoover City Schools Child Nutrition Program employees, that they are trying to provide excellence in food safety and sanitation for the students. 6 of our 16 schools currently have a score of 99. Berry Middle, Bluff Park Elementary, Greystone Elementary, River Chase Elementary, Brock's Gap, South Shades Crest. But tonight we're going to feature the schools, the 8 schools that have a perfect score of 100. And if these managers will come forward to receive the certificate. Shades Mountain Elementary, I believe Cecilia could not be here tonight. Is Ms. Hatter here? Okay. Rocky Ridge Elementary, Christy Gunter, manager. Deer Valley Elementary, Tawana Stewart, is she here? Is Wayne here? Dr. Richardson? Glenn Elementary, Brenda Ross. Dr. White? Simmons Middle School, Teresa Short, manager. This next school, you've seen her before. This is for Green Valley Elementary, and this score of 100 is now 6 years in a row of a perfect score of 100. And tonight, one reason I did ask for this recognition is both high schools have a perfect score of 100. That is incredible to think of the size of their kitchens. Spain Park High School, manager Autumn Mitchell with 13 employees, perfect score of 100.
Hoover High School, 20 employees. Both Spain Park and Hoover High School have 8 food bars. If you ever get a chance to go through those kitchens, you'll see what kind of feat this took to make a perfect score of 100. Patty King is the manager. She could not be here tonight. She has one of her employees, Courtney Monso, and she is here to take the award. Thank you so much.
Next up, if I may draw your attention to the screen, we have a gold level sponsor each year for our teacher recognition program. So we recognize Teachers of the Year at each of our 16 campuses, and then we recognize an elementary Teacher of the Year and a secondary Teacher of the Year. McDonald's has generously sponsored this program now for 5 or 6 years. So I'd like to invite Ms. Stephanie Drew, their marketing manager for Hoover area McDonald's, to come forward and say a few words.
Hey, I am so excited to be here on behalf of the owner-operator for Hoover McDonald's. This partnership, I think when it started 5 or so years ago, we had no idea what it would become, and it has not only grown but flourished over the years. I see so many different administrators and teachers here that we have grown to work with over the past few years, and it's just become an amazing partnership. So I want to thank you for letting us be a small part of what you do every day, every year, and letting us have just a small impact on the city of Hoover and the students that you serve. So we love doing this. We love being a part of your school. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Autumn Jeter, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction here for Hoover City Schools. And within my duties, I have the honor of working along with our Teacher of the Year program. Mrs. Whitney Cook will join me as we present our Hoover City Schools, each individual school's Teacher of the Year. And then we will also present our District Elementary Teacher of the Year and District High School or Secondary Teacher of the Year with an award as well. Principals are here present tonight to support their teachers, and we want to first say thank you to all of our candidates, all of our awardees tonight for the hard work and all of the instruction that you give to our students so that they will be lifelong learners. So thank you and congratulations in advance. As we call your name, please come forward and remain standing. And at the end of this presentation, we've asked that you step outside into the lobby for a group picture. Along with this award, Jason, if you'll assist me, and you guys have probably seen these in front of the schools in previous years, but thanks to our gold sponsor, each school, each awardee will have this banner in their honor at their schools wherever their principal places it. So this is just a sample. Congratulations, Teacher of the Year in their school, and their principal hat. They have this. As I call your name, please come forward. From Brock's Gap Elementary School, Adriana Walker. Gwynn Elementary School, Andrea Lynch. Simmons Middle School, Ashley Webster. Deer Valley Elementary, Brittany Hunt. Bumpus Middle School, Caroline Morris. Rocky Ridge Elementary, Carolyn Shiflett. Berry Middle School, Daniela DeLuca. Chase Mountain Elementary, Demetria Long. River Chase Elementary, Ellen Olive. South Shades Crest Elementary, Gailey Thomas. Greystone Elementary, Karen Derrick. Green Valley Elementary, Kyle Moore. Bluff Park Elementary, Lindy Bijou. Hoover High School, Lisa Carey. Trace Crossings Elementary, Natalie Tate Brasta. And last but not least, Spain Park High School, Richard Stamper. And as Richard comes forward, let's again give them a huge round of applause for the work they do for our children. Again, thank you. And thank you to your principals. Awardees, don't forget your trophy boxes. Oh, I'm sorry. There are 2 trophies right here. Our elementary Hoover City Schools District Teacher of the Year is none other than Mrs. Karen Derrick. And our secondary Hoover City Schools Teacher of the Year is Mrs. Lisa Carey. And Mrs. Carey is from Hoover High, and Mrs. Derrick is from a combination of schools, Greystone Elementary, Bluff Park Elementary, and Deer Valley Elementary. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Dr. Murphy, Board of Education, that concludes our recognitions this evening. Thank you for the time.
Board members, if I could just take note that whether it's transportation and going through compliance without any issues, so making scores of 100, or whether it's preparing meals for our children and making health scores of 100, or the terrific work that goes in our classrooms. It's such a privilege to spend this time acknowledging all the different ways we excel, whether it's classroom or cafeterias or buses or you name it. We seem to knock it out of the park. So I acknowledge all those who've been recognized.
This is a time that we offer public participation from our audience. Anyone here would like to speak publicly? Okay. If you're going to speak, we ask you to give your name, your address. I'll make sure I get all this down. Your name, your address, the topic that you would like to speak on. And keep in mind, good name and character, school district employees we have, and our students giving comments. We'll ask you to speak for 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Robin Schultz. I'm at 348 Albemarle Drive. I have been coming to board meetings since June of 2007. Tonight would be the 138th meeting since my first one. I've attended 126 of those. I've missed 12. This public participation thing is awesome. Okay, it's just incredible how we're able to recognize everybody in the school system. When I first started attending board meetings, these tables were down there, and we all faced in that direction. And then a few years later, we turned it around. I used to write comments about every board meeting online, and I used to open it with, we had 78 empty chairs, okay, because only 3 of us attended board meetings. But today, there's not even parking out there. So I would like to recommend in the future, if we could, perhaps we've outgrown this venue for board meetings. And where everybody, including the people that were outside, are able to see who's being recognized, because there was a number of people in the hallway that couldn't see what was going on. They'll be able to see it on video later on, but they came all the way down here to see what was going on. So perhaps the board would consider one of the high schools as being a place for a meeting, or one of the larger elementary schools, so that everybody can participate in the awesome stuff that Jason puts together for the recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good. Thank you.
Board members, we have a number of action items. First item of business is I would ask your approval of the minutes for our regular board meeting of January 8th.
Board have a motion to approve the minutes of January meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, Dr. Russell.
Next, we have personnel report. You'll find on the personnel report that we have 8 appointments, 4 change of status for leave, 4 transfers, 9 requests for leave of absence, 10 resignations, 1 retirement, and 4 contingency bus driver appointments. I ask your approval of all of the individuals on the personnel report.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the personnel report for the February meeting. And second.
Second.
Board, do you have any questions about the personnel report? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
And I'd just like to ask if we have individuals who are present who may be on our agenda, or principals, you have individuals. I know I see Dr. Bob Lowry. Dr. Lowry has been approved this evening to be our coordinator for student services, and is one of ours and has served in that department for several years. And as Mr. Smith retires April 1, then Mr. Lowry will go to the helm. So I acknowledge and recognize him. Thank you so much. Principals, any of your employees present that we should defer to you? Thank you.
Brother, so is the going to be our the first week teacher with us for a long time.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Are there others? Well, congratulations to all employees upon your employment or retirement or whatever it might be. Thank you, board members. Next, we have our business action items, and Christina Hancock.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Before you, you have the summary and general purpose financial statements for the month ended of December 31st, based on reconciled bank statements for the fiscal year of 2019. For the FY19 budget, 39.95% of budget revenue has been received for the month ended December 31st. Tax receipts have increased compared to the prior period in FY 2018. Ad valorem taxes are collected at the beginning of the fiscal year, and then collections decline for the remainder of the year. Therefore, we will only see small collections for the remainder of the year, which basically means we need to live off what we've collected to this point. The results of operations represent 3 months of activity for the fiscal year. Accordingly, approximately 25% of budget would have been anticipated to have been spent at the end of December. General fund expenditures are 22.88%, which is a little under our 25% where we would normally be. For the 3 months of activity, the current month's reserve is at 9.47, but that will decline throughout the remainder of the year due to the decline of ad valorem tax collections. Capital payments were made in the month of December for Hoover High School Band Room and RC3. Special revenue fund expenditures for the 3 months of activity were $5.5 million, or 29.97% of the budget. Special revenue income is collected a month in arrears, so you usually see a higher expenditure than you do revenues because we have to spend it and then request it. Bond payments will be made in February, so you will see an increase in expenditures for next month's financials. And let me just state that this is written a little bit differently than what you've normally been seeing, but we've looked at, Dr. Murphy and I had this discussion last week, that basically we were always comparing the prior year period in a previous year. Well, that year's already gone, and we do things differently based upon our capital projects. So I just rewrote it, so you'll be seeing a little bit different format.
Board members, I'd like to request your approval of the monthly financial statement for December 2018. In addition, if you would approve cash disbursements for December 2018, $4,124,900. If you would also approve payroll January 2019, $7,930,963.64. I request your approval of all three business action items.
Board have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations on the business actions. A second. Do we have any questions from Ms. Hancock or superintendent? All in favor? Aye. This passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Hancock.
Next, we have a conversation and a request for you to take review of refunding bonds. And again, Ms. Hancock, if I might have you join us.
And I'm going to ask Matt, our financial advisor, to come up with me as well. Board, you received these documents last week to look at the different structures. We've been bringing this before you in previous months to let you know that we were watching what interest rates were going to do and what we could possibly do as far as restructuring our bond. What we are recommending tonight is that we restructure our current debt, borrow $12 million for capital projects, and that is scenario 2 in the documents that you received. As we brought to you before, there were 3 things that we wanted to accomplish when we looked at doing our debt service. We wanted to level out the payments. We had an opportunity to borrow money and still save over the life of that loan. So with scenario 2 that you have before you, we are looking to, in addition to getting the $12 million, we will still be saving $1.6 million over the life of that loan.
Do you guys have a copy of the scenario, or do you need a copy of it? Okay.
Do you have a paper copy?
I did.
I would prefer that.
Yeah, me too.
So I just want to kind of describe the process from the last board meeting that we were here in front of you, talking about the refunding. We basically sent out bid requests to 14 different banks. So we kind of, that number is lower than what we normally send it to, but the size of the refunding was so large that we knew automatically some banks just don't have the legal lending limit to participate on that. We did hear from a couple of folks that, they said, they basically had a lot of different comments about it, but there were kind of 3 things that really banks had trouble with. One was the forward nature of it. That means that we lock in the rate today and then we close in November. The second one is it's a very long maturity, so the final maturity on it is more, it really fits more in the fixed rate bond box. And then the third kind of common comment that we heard was just the size. It's hard for a bank to do something that size and hold every bit of it on their balance sheet. It's a lot of risk for banks. So we knew that we probably would have 2, possibly 3 folks that would be interested in bidding on it. They're not your traditional, banks that you would go downtown to or go to your local branch to. They're more kind of capital market banks, and so we kind of had to work with those to help them understand the structure and what the goals were on the board. And it became pretty apparent during the middle of the bid process that we were going to have one that was going to be well ahead of the others. And so we did receive a bid. It was a 3.85% on the forward refunding. We talked with them, and we were able to get them to 3.80. And so, 5 basis points may not sound like a lot, but on $100 million plus in money, the result was about $856,000 in additional savings that we were able to realize for the board. So we were pretty happy that they came down those 5 basis points from a 385 to a 380. So if you look at the 2 scenarios, I'll start with just the forward refunding. Probably the most simple to understand. It's just a refunding of the debt, keeping the maturity the same. In August, when we talked with you guys the savings for this particular scenario. It has a call date. If you recall, we were looking at some scenarios with and without a call date. Talking with Hayward, we felt like under Alabama law, we had to have a call date, and so we went in that direction. The savings were about $7,455,000 on a gross basis in August, and about $4,499,000 on a present value basis. So the 3.80% scenario provides you with base savings, and I'll explain what I'm talking about when I say base savings. It provides you with base savings of $7.8 million, $7,873,000, and present value savings of $5,434,000. So really, really strong savings. Tina and I both were pretty excited about that level of savings. When I say base savings, there has to be a notice that goes out to actually call the bonds. And so there's a period of time in November where we'll hold money in escrow while the bonds are being called. And it's about 85 days or so. And so this does not reflect any savings that we would get from investing $100 million for 85 days, which is a pretty significant chunk of change. We can't. I can give you an estimate of what we think it would be at today's rates, but that money is going to be invested in U.S. Treasuries, and the U.S. Treasury rate in November is going to be different than it is today. So this will be the minimum. There will be more, several hundred thousand more to add on top of this. So the second scenario, we wanted to have the bank. There were a lot of strategic initiatives that Tina's discussed with you, and we wanted to have the bank at least kind of price that out for us, the winning bank. And so we went back to them and gave them kind of a second structure and said, okay, where would rates be with this? And you kind of got three pieces of this. One is the new money piece. One is the forward refunding. And then you've got a refunding which is taxable, has to be done taxable. It's a refunding of some 2012 and 2017. That piece is a very small piece, so in the overall scheme of things. But what this does is we've kind of termed it the 12 for 12 scenario. So it gives us $12 million in new money and keeps our payment at $12 million annually. And your payment on debt service right now is anywhere from 13.3 to 13.6 for the next, really out until 2026. So it really kind of gives us a little bit of breathing room to accomplish some of the initiatives that we need while providing some upfront new money. Just something we wanted to bring before you. I think Hayward, you want to let Hayward talk a little bit about the logistics of if you guys choose to accept these bids, what would need to be done by the board, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them on the numbers.
I have a question, Matt.
Sure.
What's the hedge cost to get to November?
Yeah, so it's built into that 3.80% rate. And it generally has been ranging about 5 basis points a month. So when we did run a break-even calculation, and just given the break-even calculation, we felt like it was best to go ahead with this rate today, because their forward premium, or their hedge cost as you called it, is actually less than kind of what market has been. It's closer to 3 or 4 basis points a month, and so it was a very low cost.
Are your fees?
All of the fees, legal, verification, our fees, State Board of Ed has an application and review fee. All of that is built in, and the number that you see is actually the savings number that you would achieve. Hayward, you want to talk a little bit about the logistics?
Be glad to. Evening, everyone. Thank you very much for letting us participate. I know Matt has given you all the good news, and I don't have anything but just news at this point. The transaction that has been described is really, one transaction. It works together, but it's in 3 parts. So you have 3 resolutions that hopefully were in the package to you. They're virtually identical, but you're doing 3 different things, as Matt mentioned. First of all, you're doing a refunding of the 2010s. So this current issue that you have, the 2019, will replace the 2010 in its entirety. That's one piece, and that's where most of your savings come from. The other two pieces produce the new money and some other savings that makes your debt service come out the way you wanted it to each year. The second part of the transaction, about $14 million, is where you get your $12 million or so new money for your capital projects, and also you refund about $1.99 million of your 2017 issue that we just did. So it replaces some of the debt service there, and that's in part two. And both of those are tax exempt. Part three, a smaller issue, about $7 million, will refund a portion of your 2012s. Okay, that's done on a taxable basis because it'd be done now, and we are not eligible to do a tax exempt refunding yet. But the numbers that Matt gave you all take that into account. That's why you have 3 resolutions and you have 3 financing agreements, because you've got 3 different components to this, and it's easier to keep track of them that way. So the terms of them are virtually identical. There are no significant new covenants on the part of the board that you have to undertake. Each of the 3 financings is a limited obligation, is payable solely from your 24 mil tax. That's what's pledged now to the 2010s and such. And I believe the other ones as well. So this is pretty much replacing one debt with another payable from the same source. And of course, the board, not only your general credit and assets are specifically exempt from this, but of course you all are too. You know, officers, members, employees, etc., have specific exemption under the law and under our documents. The first issue matures in 2040. It's a long one, but so does the existing one that is replacing. And that's at the 3.8% that Matt mentioned, callable in 2029. It's 10 years out, then you can refund it again. That's the one that produces your savings. The new money piece matures in 2042. Slightly higher interest rate, 3.95, but again, that's reflected in the savings that you've heard. The last one, the taxable one, matures in 2036, and it bears interest at 4.9%. All these callable in 10 years, all payable from that same 24 mil tax, and no other source of revenue could be used by the bondholder to pay it back. All by the same bank, Capital One public funding. And all will use the same documents, and again, there are no new covenants on the part of the board, nothing you have to do. We do reserve the right to issue parity debt. That's what you have now. In other words, you can pledge this tax again in the future for other borrowings, either for refunding or new money, on the same basis that you are now. So that is a right that you have reserved with the previous issue. That right is continued exactly as it exists.
The resolutions you make reference to.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have those.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm not sure how that happened. They're very simple. They have really approved the documents that are necessary for each transaction, and they authorize the execution of those documents. They ratify the prior actions taken by the officers of the board just to get to this point. And they're all virtually identical. They will just reference the documents that are needed for each of the 3 pieces.
I would vote on something that don't have a document.
Well, I've got a copy. I thought they'd been sent. I thought they'd been restricted. I don't know what you all had. So
We have a scenario 1 and a scenario 2, but not resolutions.
Okay. Well, you just hand those then, and you can see these are not just the resolutions, they're also the minutes that go around it, so you can see the resolutions. There.
These all 3 are the same.
They're each one, yes ma'am, they
These are
have
the
virtually
3
the
resolutions.
identical terms of the resolutions, yes ma'am. There's a separate set of minutes for each portion of the transaction.
Pleasure of the board, do you want copies of these?
Yes.
Peggy, do you mind making us all copies of those?
Well, it's just doing that. Can I ask a question? I'm not sure if it's for Matt or you. The last time we met, the larger discussion, I thought we'd about decided not to borrow $12 million more. So I'm having a little trouble understanding why we're borrowing $12 million in new money. lot of confidence in Ms. Hancock to interpret all this. Could you just put that in layman's terms?
Sure. Basically, the last time when we went out for bid, we just went out with the refunding and nothing else. The reason why we presented the second scenario is because we priced it out, and it was better than kind of where we had been looking at things in the fall. I think the last time we met was November, and so we got a price on it second. I think Hayward's prepared resolutions for either scenario, so whatever you guys want to do is fine. We just felt like keeping the payment lower and getting the money up front accomplish some of those strategic objectives, but it's certainly, the board.
Keeping the payment lower though, I get it for budgeting and all, but is it costing us money to get the payment lower? I get it, it's like, you wanna borrow a boat for 5 years, you wanna borrow for 10.
I mean, it's just like you said. I mean, you're basically spreading that cost over several years, so that your budget has a little bit of relief from a $13.3 million payment. So you're kind of picking up about $1 million, depending on the year there, about $1 million to $1.6 million.
So the net savings, forget the even in the payment, as opposed to just saying, call and refinance, just forgive my terms, it's probably not right, but if we just simply went to the debt we have now, the bonds, and refinanced them at the rate we have now, didn't involve any money.
Yeah.
That may be in your scenario.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, the first scenario really should be thought of in terms of savings. I mean, if you just want to refund and save money, that would be kind of the first scenario. That's what we would recommend. The second one is just, if you need to accomplish these things, if you need the $12 million for various capital projects, if you need, budgetary relief, so to speak, on your payment, you can do that, and basically, within the 2010 gives us the opportunity to do that. So
You just said two things, you said even payments and borrow money. Again, did you not just say give us more capital? If capital's in the form of the savings, it's fine, but if we're just getting $12 million to add to the cash reserves and even out the payments, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my mind. We can motion this in second and discuss it as a board, and just.
I do believe we're still saving money by 1.6 million, correct? Right.
Yeah, so basically what we've done is, on the second scenario, we've taken your payments from the 2010, the 2012, and the 2017, and we've shifted those around so that most of the savings come up front while your payments are higher. And then out long, it comes at a cost. I mean, it's a higher debt service number. And when you look at all of that combined, the difference is the board would save about $1.6 million. I think that's what Tina was saying. So, it really doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I think the refunding you definitely need to do. We wanted to price this out and bring it to you because I think it did accomplish some things that, pay for some things that otherwise, you'd have to dip into your reserves and pay for.
And the new money, I'm supposing the other bond money is all pledged to capital debt or capital projects.
Yeah, it has to be capital. Yes.
So at the end of the day, we received $12 million, we saved 1.6, and we only extend our debt service 2 years.
Yeah, so your debt service goes from, it's actually, it's 2 years, 2040 to 2042. You wind up saving $1,644,000 from the refunding. And you basically think about it. I guess the best way for me to describe it is, you have debt service that is at $13 million, and then it falls off, and your debt service is about 10.6, 10.5. And so what we're doing is we're kind of shaving some of that $13 million off of the front end. We're filling in the back end, and then we're adding $12 million in there as well, so that your payment's roughly $12 million a year. So I'm not sure that the second scenario, it does save money on the refunding pieces, but I'm not sure I would characterize it as something the board should do for savings, because obviously the savings from just refunding the 2010 is higher. But the second scenario just gives you a little bit of extra flexibility by having the 12 million up front, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If it doesn't,
So.
Tina, does that help you with leveling out the payments and taking 20 on scenario 2? Does that help us? Does that help the district in any way?
Significantly.
How so?
Well, our debt payment is gonna increase to about 13 million, so it's gonna be about, an increase of next year of about a little less than 1.8 million. So that's 1.8 million we're gonna have to plan for that we did not plan for in 2019. So that increases our expenditures next year, another almost 1.8 million. So yes, that was significant to me. That was, one of the things that we had talked about on our strategic plan that we were trying to do, that we wanted to do. So that was the reason I recommended that.
The 1.8 million savings combined with the 12 million in new money and the interest payment on that, is there an offset in there? Meaning that we're paying a little bit more in debt because we're borrowing more money versus the $1.8 million that we would save because we are borrowing more money. I mean, is that do the two offset each other? Is the cost of borrowing the 12 money, how does that factor into the savings that you're projecting, or does it?
So the 12 million, actually, I mean, it costs you money because you're borrowing it, right? So it's included in there, and so basically, think about it this way. Let me see if I can do my best to explain this. The refunding piece saves. Just put that in a silo by itself. It saves 1.6 million. And the primary reason for doing the refunding piece is to kind of reshape those payments so that you don't have the 13.3 to 13.6 million. So that's one piece or one aspect of this. The second piece is the new money. And so, when we looked at, basically, there's no magic behind $12 million other than it matches a couple of projects that Tina has and the superintendent have on their mind. But basically, at $12 million, we kind of picked a constraint out, and we can get the $12 million. So yes, the $12 million costs you money. I mean, it's borrowed money that you repay, but you're doing that within the constraint of $12 million annually.
And let me see if I understand. Borrowing the 12 million, saving 1.6 over the life of that, and it also levels out our payments, so, which is an important thing. That's how I looked at scenario 2.
So let me phrase this the way I did to you, Tina, and the way I pitched it out to Matt, and tell me the era of my calculation.
Sure.
So what we would receive at closing is $12 million. And what we would say, this is scenario 2, and what you would say with scenario 2 is 1.6 million. So that total, if you will, is 13.6 million. And so that's scenario 2. Scenario 1 is a savings of $7.8 million.
Yeah, so
the difference between those two would be $5.7 million in my simple math to say that scenario 2 is more beneficial.
So I would make one correction on that comment. The first scenario is really a savings scenario. I mean, it is apples to apples. You're not changing the final maturity of that scenario. It just simply, you're lowering the interest rate, and what that does is it provides you with savings of 7.8 million on a present value basis, about 5.4 million. So that is your kind of savings scenario. The second scenario, I would caution you to categorize it as a savings scenario. It is more of a restructure where you're moving your payments around. Now the refundings themselves do save 1.6 million, and you get 12 million out of it. So, but I wouldn't say that 12 million is savings. That's borrowed money.
It's a borrowed money that is accounted for in terms of the interest you're paying on that, with an end result of 1.6 million.
So I think that you have to look at it two separate buckets. The 12 million carries an interest cost. The refunding saved you 1.6 million. So I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so
you
then
just
I'm
add those
completely
together.
confused. So
Okay.
what is the cost of the interest of $12 million? Maybe that's the missing piece I don't see, because I thought
Yeah.
there,
The cost of 12 million, I don't have it in front of me, but the cost of 12 million is going to be, close to that 5 million or so when that's combined there. So it's going to be, it's going to come out close to the same as the prior scenario 1. But that's why I wouldn't categorize it as.
okay, so
quote
the
unquote
12
savings.
million in our hands at closing is gonna cost us an additional 5 million in terms of interest. So you're minus 5 million of interest, and you're only getting a return on savings of 1.6, because that makes the whole conversation sound different in my head than what we earlier talked about.
Yeah, so this second scenario, again, all it does is it restructures your payments to keep them at $12 million. And it's not the first scenario really tries to maximize the savings that the board would get. The second scenario just tries to accomplish a couple of goals. One, keep your payment below 12 million, and two, provide some new money for school construction within that constraint of keeping it under 12 million. And it just so happens that we're able to have positive savings at 1.6 million on the refunding pieces to do that. But
So what do you show us the 5 million we're paying for the 12 million we're getting?
Yeah,
If we were
so
to borrow that?
in scenario, if you look at that third page, Series 2019B.
Third page.
Yeah, if you look at the Series 2019B piece, you'll see kind of a principal and interest column there. That includes the 2017 refunding. So I've got those combined so that you can see the three separate pieces, but the 12 million's in there. And if everybody's having, it's this column. Right. So the 12 million's in there, and the bigger, it's combined with the 17 refunding. So unfortunately, I'm sorry I don't have that split out for you, but we can certainly send those numbers back.
What would be the risk? We had a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know that, and that's fine. It's a big decision.
What is the risk? What is the risk to us if we wanted to wait and maybe call a special call board meeting in a week to kind of get this figured out and straightened out so that we can all understand and agree about what we're doing? I'm just asking what the risk is to us.
I'll let Hayward answer that. I do know that we've got, a bank kind of holding rates for us. I think we probably can buy ourselves some time with that if you guys want to have some further discussions, but I wouldn't push it much longer than kind of a week.
Okay.
So that you can kind of talk about that. Hayward, do you have any?
I'll be glad to answer those questions. Let me ask you one though.
We had a closing March 5th.
But that's on to,
Yeah, and then November 26th.
Who do you sign the form
On the 5th. Same time, yeah.
Ms. Kendrick, you asked if there's any risk. I don't see any, no, not at all. I would agree with you on that. If you are to have a special meeting, we just have to comply with the notice requirements, that's all, a week's notice, so, that'd be good.
Carl, can we have a special call board meeting to discuss this or a work session to discuss this so that everybody can get it clear and Tina can explain it again?
What I hear, I think you can.
Okay, all right, very good.
I'm not sure what you mean by a week's notice.
Well, that was just.
Appropriate notice to
Yeah,
the
just
public,
appropriate notice.
24-hour notice.
Right. We just need to make sure the notice, that the meeting has proper notice. And, a board meeting would be better, because if you do decide to act, you can act then. If it's a work session, another board meeting, so that's all I would add. Thank you.
The one thing I would add is I'll check with the bank tomorrow morning and just notify Tina, if that's okay, that the bank's comfortable, kind of waiting for a week to kind of hear back and see.
And if we could, so when we discuss this again, or as we're discussing it for clarification, if it's in front of me, I'm sorry, I don't see it. What does the $12 million cost us in interest?
We'll split
And I've asked
that
that
out.
question
Yeah.
several times.
We'll split it out on the next, scenario, but it's about $5 million.
Okay, and that $5 million is reflected here somewhere?
Yes, yeah.
Well, that
it's-
kind of equates to the difference between the two scenarios. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you, I mean, the way I look at it is if you're just purely looking at savings, scenario one is your savings, like you've been saying, savings scenario. And then the cost of borrowing the 12 million to level out the payments over the next 7 years until you would hit that point where you get to the lower payments, then is reflected in scenario two, that cost of about $5 million to get the 12 now.
When you sent that makes, scenario two makes sense to me in what you're saying because of all the capital projects we have on the horizon. To me, that makes the most fiscal sense, but, so.
But no, it would be good to have, like, what she's requesting.
Yeah, we
because
can split all
think of
of
it
that.
as purely savings over here, and then what if we needed to borrow $12 million, or get the $12 million for,
Sure.
you know, to have that.
Yeah. That's no problem, and, you know, like I said, you guys do what you feel is best for the board, we just wanna present you with the options. So don't feel like Hayward or I, either one, are trying to say.
We know that.
You know.
We're sorry to be.
No, we wanted you guys to have the
This is,
options, it's an important decision, so.
Yeah, this is a third of 28 year highway.
Yeah.
I don't worry, don't make changes.
Thank you.
Board members, I'd like for action item D, refunding bond, to not be an actionable item, and request your adjustment of that on the agenda.
We'll need a motion to adjust the agenda to reflect that we're not going to consider the bonds. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll postpone that. Thank
And do we want to look at calendars now, or
Yes.
for purposes of
Yes.
trying to set something up in the next?
Soon.
Can we try next Tuesday? What's next Tuesday?
Next week is a really tough week for me.
18th and 19th are school holidays, so it's kind of
That's what I've been told from the
25th?
education research design.
Can we do the 25th?
I
Is that too far
That's a
out?
Saturday.
25th
No,
is a Monday,
It's a Monday.
Monday week, the 25th, is that, how does,
That's fine with me. I can't do it early. I can do it at 8 o'clock. I can't do it. I got this.
you know, during the day?
Yeah, I don't care.
Or during the, or in the evening, it won't matter. Is the
Dr. Murphy,
25th,
25th is wide open for me. I can't.
is that,
Is that too
assume
late?
that's okay, where did,
Is that too far out?
Well, the only thing I would say is we had negotiated a closing date with the bank of March the 5th, and so that gives us about a week to negotiate any terms of the documents and things like that. It's fairly tight, but I understand y'all's schedule, so.
Yeah, this Friday. Can we do this Friday? Yeah.
We do it later this week.
When do you leave? What time? We need 8 a.m. on Thursday. Wait, can I? It's Valentine's Day.
I'll be
Because we love y'all so.
What time would you have to go?
Sitting there, not later than 10 o'clock,
How about tomorrow?
Your questions answered.
Well, I mean, we are notifying the public right now.
You can't do that, can we?
Well, you couldn't have it before 24 hours from this period of time, so
We
we
could
couldn't
do
have it earlier than 7
Valentine's
o'clock.
Day early in the day, we don't have to do it when you're gonna have a candlelight dinner, we can have it earlier in the day, right?
Sure, you can have
Sure.
it anytime.
Alright, let's go.
Only y'all won't get up on 5 on 14.
January 14th, what time?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Can we do 7:30?
This is the 14th.
On Thursday.
7:30.
February.
I'll make it work.
You gonna make it work.
I can't put my
Spend some
calendar,
time on
but
me.
I'll make it work.
Yes, sir.
Think about getting notice to the media.
The media's here.
Can you put that out?
I'm just kidding with you, Carl.
Yeah,
How much notice
I'm
you
trying to do
want?
that tonight.
Jason's in the room. Jason?
Start
You in the
texting.
room? So board members, I hear February 14th, 7:30 in the morning. And,
Carl, we good? Go to jail?
I know he's going to jail.
Or we get out of there?
yeah, we can post this evening. Can't we, Jason?
Yes.
Okay,
Is that the only concern, Carl?
Yes.
Okay.
okay. And so if you have questions, obviously Tina or I, or just let us know. Okay, thank you.
Oh my gosh, was I talking about?
It'll be a call board meeting for purposes of being at one agenda item as I see it, and that's this item.
Yes.
Well, all righty. Ready for me to move on? Just a few items under information reports that I'd like to share with you. In our FY19 budget, we have some funds set aside for us to do architectural design for the Berry Middle School 18 classrooms that we've talked several times about. And so we have money set aside in FY19 to start that architectural design. It would be in our FY20 budget beginning in October before we would build in the actual capital outlay money to support that. So that's just informational. And to let you know that we want to work with Latham and Associates as the architectural firm to help us with Berry Middle School. Advanced Ed, we were so delighted they came. We were so delighted they left. And Dr. Smith, could you just give us a brief update of their visit last week? And while she's making her way, I said this in our executive cabinet meeting yesterday, I know it seems like I am just beating the dead horse, but Dr. Smith did a stellar job leading the entire process for us. And every time I had a thought about, oh, did we get water? Or, oh, did we file that report? She had already done that long since before I'd ever even thought about it. So, Dr. Smith, to you, to my entire staff, I'm seeing all kinds of principals and others in this room who helped make this, I think, we'll be proud when we get our final report, which we don't have. So, Dr. Smith.
I agree, and what a difference a week makes. So very happy. Sunday, February 3rd, a 6-member Advanced Ed Accreditation Engagement Team arrived in Hoover, and they began the review of our school district. The review was completed on February the 6th, and here's just a snapshot of their visit. They conducted 509 interviews, 55 observations, and they evaluated us on a 31 research-based performance standards called the IC3. This rubric begins with initiate, improve, and impact. So when we get this final report, those are key terms that you need to keep in mind as to where we might land. The team reviewed our e-prove evidence and gathered their own. And the themes that they acknowledged that they discovered while here was collaboration, stakeholder engagement, leadership, strategic planning, culture of high expectations, and communication. We should receive the final report in about 30 business days, and we will continue to reflect upon this rigorous process and look forward to receiving the final report from this external review agency. I'd like to thank the board and all the many members of Hoover City Schools for all of your support for this successful Advanced Ed Accreditation Review.
Dr. Smith, I'd like to echo Dr. Murphy. Thank you. I don't know, the school district, the employees and leaders had a whole lot more to do than the board here, but thank you for making it, scared us to death. This is accreditation of the district. This is the old SACS or some variation, so this was important. So all of us had to be here at the same time. We were all sent out, so we couldn't cheat. We had no tests. And we were pretty much grilled with the light bulb. And thank you so much for making it possible.
Absolutely. I want to acknowledge Ms. Bauman and her interest in Hoover Rise, a mentoring program, and I'll certainly defer to you if you wish to address the board and the audience. And I know Terry Spain's going to do a presentation too, so why not?
Yes, Ms. Spain, if you'd like to come up. We are fortunate to have her on board here, and she's going to give us an overview of the new outreach program called Hoover Rise.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Terry Spain. I'm the Mental Health and Student Support Specialist for Hoover City Schools. A sense of belonging plays a key role in adolescent development. Adolescence is a time when young people need support and connection the most. However, it's also a time when they happen to be the greatest at risk of being disconnected and isolated. We are hoping to combat disconnection and isolation with the Hoover Rise mentoring program. The program will provide students of Hoover City Schools with a designated pathway to provide a sense of belonging. Mentoring promotes tangible benefits, improvement to academic performance, improvement to the quality of classwork, increases in the number of homework and in-class assignments turned in, a reduction of serious school infractions such as disciplinary referrals, fighting, suspensions, also a reduction in skipping classes. Mentoring also promotes intangible benefits such as improved mental health, which is very important to me, and more positive attitudes towards schools, increased trust in teachers, higher levels of self-confidence, and a greater ability to express their feelings, all of which are valuable coping skills for now, but also for a lifetime. We will pilot the Hoover Rise mentoring program at Green Valley Elementary School and Simmons Middle School. We are so very thankful that these schools are rising to the occasion. The program is set to roll out during the last 9 weeks of the 2018-2019 school year. We will start the pilot program with approximately 40 students who will be paired in one-to-one matches with mentors from within the school system, as well as mentors who are recruited from the community. This is just one more way that Hoover Rise is going to promote a sense of belonging in the Hoover community. The mentors will meet with the students on a weekly basis, and the schools will approve the activities that the mentors will be allowed to do. It can be anything from reading a book, having structured conversations, coloring, maybe even shooting some hoops. The expectations for the mentors will be laid out in mandatory mentor trainings, and mentors will also have a mandatory background check. The No More Hire background check is just one more layer of protection which will promote the safety and well-being of the students of Hoover City Schools. With all of that being said, mentoring is a dual-purpose endeavor. It is a get and give experience which will be rewarding for both the student and the mentor. If you are interested in becoming a mentor, you will notice that we have gold announcements that are dispersed throughout the room. There is a website. You can send your interest in, and we can start the process of getting you involved as being a mentor. A sense of belonging can provide a deep sense of connection that carries a young person with them into adulthood and beyond. As a Be Kind project, we would like to invite the board to be involved with a kickoff for Hoover Rise. Details will be available later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Payne. We really appreciate what you're doing with Hoover Rise and Ms. Bauman and Dr. Simmons and others who are helping lead that. So thank you for that. Dr. Terry Lamar is going to share with us our Hoover City School report card. As you all know, we have an A, but I'm going to ask him to give a little more detail to that. So Dr. Lamar, thank you.
Absolutely. When Dr. Murphy first asked me to do this report card, originally 50% of the slides were going to look exactly like this. We were going to have a discussion on the amount of students that on level 2 that score for math would have been 20 math students, 25 reading students, we were going to talk about add the 20 math students plus the 25 reading students, and then take the ones on level 2 and multiply that times 0.5, which will give you 22.5. And at the end of that part, we're going to add up all the levels, which would have given us a 22.5 plus 25.0, divide that by 200, and then we're almost done. And then we're going to multiply it times 100. After we multiply times 100, we're going to then get to a point where we take 20% of that score. But I felt like it would put everyone in here to sleep. So I decided to keep it short and simple. Okay? So Hoover, we did an awesome job. Everyone in this district did a phenomenal job. One thing I will tell you, there were 15 districts in the state of Alabama that scored an A on the report card. And that's out of 137 school districts. So for Hoover being the largest school district that scored an A, I think that speaks well in volumes also to everyone within the school district. So what I want you all to realize here is we have an A. So we want to talk about how did we earn that A? And in this section where it says indicators, look at the academic achievement. Each one of those indicators or categories there we have actually contributes to us getting that A. So let's talk about some of the key terms first. If you look at academic achievement, anytime you see the word academic achievement, I want you to think about it in terms of students that were on levels 3 or 4. And when we say 3 or 4, we're thinking about more so in terms that met expectations or exceeded expectations. So that's what we're thinking about in terms of proficiency. In terms of academic growth, we're talking about students who met at least 1 year worth of growth. So in other words, you had a 4th grader that started the year as a 4th grade on a 4th grade level. By the end of the year, we want that student to at least be on a 5th grade level or higher. So that's what we mean in terms of academic growth. Graduation rate, that's another one just in everyday terms. You think about a 9th grade student starts that cohort, and when they finish in 12th grade, we want to see how many students graduated in that cohort of students. Now, thankfully, the state will give you some credit for students that graduated in 5 years because they look at, there could have been some credit issues or anything that could have gone in that situation. In terms of chronic absenteeism, so anytime we see the word chronic absenteeism, that's for any students who miss 15 days or more of school, and that is excused or unexcused absences. And when you hear the term full academic year or FACE students, those are the students who started the year in Hoover City Schools and also finished the year in Hoover City Schools, when we hear the word full academic year. College and career readiness. This is a term that we hear a lot. So when we say college and career readiness, we're talking about a student that met at least one of the indicators below, of those 6 indicators. If they benchmark on any ACT subtest, military enlistment. So any of those 6 indicators is what we are talking about when we say college and career readiness. So we bring it back around. So let's talk about the indicator. Again, without going to that first slide that I showed everyone, if you look at academic achievement, I want you to just think about this in terms of all the students that were on levels 3, 4, and also the kids that were on level 2. So the district, not the district, but the state put their formula in, and when they did that part, all the students that were on those levels, we received an indicator score of 87.89. And so then we took 20% of that grade, which gave us the indicator points earned, and that's 17.57. So in that section where it says indicator points earned, those are the points we received towards our letter grade that you see the 90.1. So that's how they did the same thing for academic growth, graduation rate, and just took the percentage of that score. The great thing that I'll also say is a lot of great things are taking place in the school district. The curriculum department, which consists of Dr. Jeter and Mrs. Cook, and now we went out to pretty much every school now and talked with principals about their data, looked at this information, and great things are taking place. The principals being very creative and innovative and responsive to that data as well. So they are planning for, even the schools that are exceptionally excelling, they are still coming up with plans because everyone wants to challenge all levels of students. So very pleased with the results, very pleased with the teachers and everyone else in the district. So if there are any questions about this, let me know. If not, I'll have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
I appreciate Dr. Lamar, Dr. Jeter, and others who've been out and supporting principals. As I say to our central office staff, the only reason we exist is to go out and support principals, support our teachers, and obviously to help them facilitate the learning of students. So thank you, Dr. Lamar, for sharing that. Next, we have Be Kind Week and some school safety instructional videos.
That's right. Anna Whitney, who is out sick tonight, spearheaded this effort, but I will zoom through her slides that she constructed for us. Some of you saw this marketing last school year, so we asked a lot of people to share this on their social media streams using the hashtag BeKind, hashtag BeKindHoover, etc. You can see the dates right there later this month, the 25th to the 1st. So February is designated as Be Kind Month. And here's what it's all about: creating a culture of kindness and in our schools where students feel safe to be themselves, stand up for others, pursue their dreams, and brave enough to say something if they see something. We'll get into that here in just a second. We want to teach students the value of caring and kindness, the difference between telling on someone and saying something to get help. Now, we start by making students feel safe, welcome, and connected to others. Building a culture of trust and connectivity is paramount to preventing tragedy. Here are some statistics to share with you. 4 out of 5 school shootings. In those shootings, the attacker allegedly told people ahead of time. 7 out of 10 people who complete suicide told someone their plans. And would these numbers be different if someone had said something? So you see it gets to the extreme, but we take it down to the base level of kindness. So if kindness kind of is at the grassroots level, we might could avoid some of these scenarios here. So be kind, be brave, be you. And you see the district hashtag right there. And that brings us to some instructional safety videos. This kind of ties in with the Sandy Hook Promise out of Newtown, Connecticut. And we asked our secondary schools to shoot and produce, from a student perspective, some informative videos. We have the high schools tonight. They're 1 minute in length each. And we will start with Spain Park High School.
A day can change someone's life, even a moment. Well, one simple action can change everyone's life. It's up to me to say what I see.
Things that make us uncomfortable. It's up to me to say what I see. Things that are out of place. It's up to me to say what I see.
Things that keep my school safe. It's up to me to say what I see.
It's up to me to say what I see.
For our school.
For our community.
For our country.
All right, good job, Spain Park. Thank you. And Hoover High School. What a great job to us. So as you can see, these videos incorporate a lot of elements that we preach to our students, and we drill into them through the active shooter drills and other drills that we hold throughout the school year. Dr. Simmons, very instrumental in that as well. Sergeant Katie Harris, who is with us out here in the hallway, can speak to those efforts, but we try to create that culture of safety and really transparency and dialogue between the students and faculty and staff. So if they see stuff like this, they don't have any fear in terms of reporting it. So thank you for letting us share that.
Jason, while you're up, would you share with us the rumor is?
Absolutely. So the rumor is, late breaking news here. This is a new section that we've added to our district website. And here's a screen capture so you can see that's our homepage right there. If you scroll down to the bottom left under those frequently asked questions, you can see where the rumor is, and it takes you to my departmental page for public information. This is where we're going to start addressing some of those rumors that erupt on social media and at the ball field and in aisle 3 of Publix. And we're going to funnel those and address those. So the rumor is, it's kind of hard to see up there, the rumor is blah, blah, blah. The fact is, the first post up there relates to senior release procedures. I know a lot of that discussion emanated through social media streams in Hoover throughout the past few weeks. So we sent out some communication through Blackboard rapid notification to kind of diffuse some of that misinformation, but we needed another portal through which that we could post this. And so my email address is hyperlinked to that phrase, public relations, and we're going to find ways to publicize this, and this is one avenue tonight. So if you guys know of any rumors or misinformation or just general questions really where people might not have full information, we're inviting everyone to send those to me. Of course, I will liaise with the appropriate departments to find out what the fact is to squash that rumor.
I would say that this was generated in great measure as we sat at the table with both Superintendent's Advisory Council and as we've been at the table with HPTC. So they hear things and it is all over social media, and the assumption is that it must be fact-based, and it's not. And so we thought about calling this fact checker, or the rumor is, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of misinformation, and we're trying to find a forum that we can help offset that misinformation with the facts. So thank you, Jason, and I appreciate you doing that.
All right.
Okay. And then the last couple of things that I would share, board members, there is an Alabama Power easement that has been, that we've been requested to take a look at. We will need to give serious consideration to this easement as we need an additional transformer at RC3. I do have Whit taking a look at the easement, or maybe he shared it with someone else in the law firm. And you all may want to take a look, not asking for any particular action, even though we will need to sign that easement, assuming that we agree to that, and we can continue to follow up on that. So then lastly, I just want to mention a few things as it relates to the legislative session that begins on March the 5th. I shared with you last month about the Alabama Accountability Act and some of the things about the act that have caused us concern. The impact on our school district is to the tune of $2,644,282. That since that legislative piece passed in 2013 to our 2017 average daily membership count, that's what our school district has lost to the Alabama Accountability Act. And so that's about that's a little over $500,000 annually that we're losing as a result of the Alabama Accountability Act. And so I would just be very hopeful that legislatively that there's not additional money that is allowed to go to the Alabama Accountability Act. So $140 million in our state has gone to the Alabama Accountability Act that otherwise would have gone into the Education Trust Fund to support our public schools. So just a follow up on that. The next item is about our lid bill. As we've talked about that a number of times at the table. We have asked Senator Jabbo Wagner to carry that through the Senate for us. And we've asked Representative David Faulkner to walk that through for us with the House. We're very hopeful that we'll be able to get legislative support to bring that lid bill back to our community for our citizens to vote on that 2.4 mils that would take us to the lid. And then honestly, last, Tier 2 employees in our school district. I am hugely troubled by the impact of Tier 2 on our employees. Individuals who were employed in our school district prior to January 1, 2013 are Tier 1 employees. The state now has a Tier 2 level of employee, and those obviously the individuals that were employed on or after January 2013. And Tier 2 has had a really negative impact on us in terms of recruitment. I think I could get a testimonial from our HR department. The way the calculations occur for the member contribution rate to retirement, their entire retirement eligibility, the retirement factors that are used as a metric, the disability retirement piece for employees, all are different if you're a Tier 2 versus Tier 1. And even the use of sick leave conversion. So for Tier 1 employees, and this is pretty sizable and really has impacted us, Tier 1 employees can accumulate sick leave, and upon retirement, should there be sick leave days there, those days can count toward retirement for those individuals. If you're Tier 2, the mindset is take them or lose them. And so we've designed something that has created a group of employees who are now saying, I'm either going to take a day a month or I might accumulate some, but I'm not going to leave sick days on the table because they can't go to my retirement. So there's a lot of things about Tier 2 that's very concerning, and I do believe it's impacting us in HR. I believe it's impacting our ability to recruit. If you talk to our institutions across the state, we have declining enrollments in our teacher preparation programs, and I certainly would not suggest that it's all about Tier 2, but I will tell you Tier 2 is not helping. And I would hope legislatively that this will be revisited and there might be some modifications. So stay tuned. We'll see how that works through the legislative process. But it's certainly something I'll be advocating for as I'm in and out of Montgomery on a few days for legislative visits. So wanted to share that with you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I guess that's just an announcement. Okay, thank you for your patience tonight. Most of this meeting was fun. Recognizing students, instructors, future programs that are coming. So I know it's been long, and we've got a little bit longer than last, but I think I've got one obligation. Our next board meeting, which I should have March 12th at 5:30. We've already discussed here that we'll have a call meeting Thursday, and that'll be right in legal communication for the formal notice. Dr. Murphy, we can't adjourn yet. You have a reason?
Yes, board members, I would recommend that we convene, go into executive session for the purposes of discussing pending litigation with our attorney, and to also consider a personal matter involving employee job performance. And I would ask that Mr. Carl Johnson, our attorney, affirm our right to do so.
You're acting within your rights to do so.
Could I have a motion to go into executive session? So moved. Got a second?
Second.
Board members, you have any questions about the executive session? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? So we'll adjourn. To try to give you, the vote was unanimous. If we need a roll call, we're not.
You actually should do a roll call.
Let's do a roll call. Ms. Winston.
Jackie Murphy. Oh, sorry. Craig Kelly.
Yes.
Deanna Bottom.
Yes.
Amy Cosby.
Yes.
Kermit Kendrick.
Aye.
Amy Madonna.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, the time is approximately 7:25. My guess is it'll be 8:30, maybe a little bit after. If you got the rest of it.
Or
We don't know. It's gonna be at least an hour. So we will not make any public votes, and we'll only be at this court table in this session, okay? So we'll deal with the matters at hand, invite our attorney, and then we'll come back out here, and we'll reconvene, and we'll call the time. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you for what you do for us, okay?
All right, great. As you see there.